Hey, it's Chuck Lutgroth again. Welcome to part 2 of the series on how to adjust the valves on your air-cooled Volkswagen engine. If you haven't already seen part 1, I suggest you pause this now, open a new tab in your browser, and watch that one first. Go ahead and do that. Okay, while those guys are doing that, we're going to go a little recap here, and we're going to show you what the valves look like, probably what you normally see under the car. First, we're going to go over the camshaft here a little bit, just so you get an idea of where we are in relation to what we see here on the rockers. Like I said in part 1 of this series, this is the camshaft here. It's a Type 4 camshaft, it's a little larger than a Type 1, but physically the design aspect is the same. We have number 1 exhaust, number 1 intake, number 2 intake, and number 2 exhaust. If you notice, if you're on number 1 cylinder, like we would be now, you are on the base circle of this lobe, you're on the base circle of this lobe, and you're on the base circle of this lobe. Here we're ramping up on the lobe here with this lifter, but on the other side, which would be number 4 exhaust, we are on the base circle of that one. Just like we would be on the car. Okay, so if you're under the car, this is what you're going to see. Your legs will be over to the driver's side, and you'll be under the passenger side, and this be number 1 and number 2. And if you look at it, you can see that we have the number 1 exhaust, number 1 intake, and number 2 intake. They're all pretty level here. Our number 2 exhaust is pushed in. So you see that. These are the ones that you can adjust. They'll be a little loose probably, and you can usually feel them. But that's what you're going to see laying under the car. Okay, and now conversely, this is what you'll see when your feet are over to the passenger side and you're under the number 3 and 4 side. You'll see that these are kind of at different heights and all, but this one here, which is number 4 exhaust, it's loose, and it's the same opposite side of number 2 exhaust. That one was pushed in, this one's pushed out. So you obviously, like I've gone through before, you can adjust this one also. But this is what you'll see under the car. If I turn this over one complete turn, you'll see obviously the opposite. Okay, so here we are. This is the 1 and 2 side. This is where you would start normally, I guess. It's either going to be at top dead center number 1 or a number 3. Right now we're at number 1 because our intake and our exhaust for number 1 is loose. Okay, now these nuts here are 17 millimeter on the wrench size. Initially they were 15s. These are replacement ones, and well, you know, we use what we can get. Anyway, it's a dual port engine. All dual port engines are 6,000s cold. All single port, including 40 horse, are 4,000s cold. The only 40 horse model that had the 8 and 12 for the intake and the 12 for the exhaust were the heads that have the studs that went all the way through. I haven't seen that style in 30 years. Most of them have this, what they call a stud kit installed, which put in a stud and a mounting place so the stud didn't go all the way through the head. Those and the Square Boss 40 horse heads are 4,000s. The single port head, 4,000s. Dual port, whether it's the Type 4 or a Type 1 upright, it's 6,000s. That's it. I got all these little fancy books right here, and it tells you that exact same thing here. And it breaks down the 8,000s and the 12,000s for that range of serial numbers, which are the early 40 horse with the long studs. It's that simple. This is what the boys there in Germany are using, and well, that's what I use. Okay, so 6,000 is what we're going to use. Obviously, I'm standing here at the bench because it's easier, and the heater boxes are out here for clarity. I want a little bit of a drag on here, and keep in mind that when you go to tighten this down, it's going to want to turn the screw, and it just needs to be snug. That one's a little loose. Back it off a little bit, and then turn the nut and the screw, and then stop. That's pretty good. Now we'll go to the other one here. A lot of times when I was doing the engine on these, I just go ahead and rough them in. I do turn to the contact and I back them off about a quarter turn. That's pretty close. And when I'm running it on the stand, they're going to move anyways. And they're about the same. Keep in mind when you do this one will change a little bit, so you might have to go back and do it. I like a little bit of a drag on there. You can tell by the curvature of my feeler gauge that you know, I like a little on the snug side of 6,000. 6,000 shouldn't just fall through here. The same with trying to get a 7 in there. Obviously a 4 would fit, but just a 7 you shouldn't go in there. Yeah, it's a little loose. A little bit more. Yeah, it's a little bit more. That's pretty good. Okay. This one's in. I'll go to the other side and do that one. Okay, so we couldn't do the number 2 exhaust, but straight across from that is number 4 exhaust, and it's loose. We can do that one. That's pretty good. Okay, so now we'll rotate it 1 complete revolution, and it'll be TDC on number 3. Okay, I've got a little mark here for TDC. About here somewhere. There we go. Okay, now we're at top dead center number 3. The 3 that we did here, obviously we can't do, but the number 2 exhaust is loose and we can do that one. A little snug, so loosen that one up a little bit. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, you don't need to reef on these nuts. They're a lock nut. They just get snug is fine. Okay, so we did the number 2 exhaust. Just now, before that, we had done the number 4 exhaust, and it's pushed in, so we can't do that one. But the number 4 intake, and number 3 intake, and number 3 exhaust we can do. A little loose. That's better. A little loose. There. And we're done. Okay, so let's go over this one more time. You put your pulley at top dead center. You're either going to be at top dead center on cylinder number 1 or top dead center on cylinder number 3. If you're top dead center on cylinder number 1, the 3 valves for the front of the car you can adjust, and on the 3 and 4 side, the opposite side, the rear valve on that side. Okay? If you're at top dead center number 3, you can do the 3 valves towards the front of the car, and on the 1 and 2 side, it's the rear valve on that side. Okay? If you're not sure which mark you have, so you've got one of those pulleys that's got like, 3 or 4 marks on it, pull the pulley bolt off, put the keyway slot to the left, 90 degrees up from that is TDC. It's that simple. Okay? If you're off 10 degrees, say, on your crankshaft, because the crankshaft turns twice the speed as the camshaft's only going to be off like 5 degrees. That's not that critical for us. As long as our lifter is on the base circle for that valve that we're adjusting, we're good. Okay? These timing marks are critical for ignition timing, not so much for our cam. Okay? So, give it a whirl. If you got any issues, get on the website, inlandaviationspecialties.com. There's a phone number on there. Give me a call. I can walk you through it. Let's do that before we get on YouTube and start posting negative comments about, geez, Chuck, you should be following the manual. Because it just wastes your time, it wastes mine, and it just confuses other people. Okay? And you got to keep in mind the manual was written for the average guy to work on his car. Like I said in part 1, I assure you, the boys in Germany did not employ that other procedure. It's just not conducive to an assembly line type of environment. It takes too long. Okay? So, got any questions, give me a call. Until next time, keep the rubber side down.